Genshin Impact is an open world action RPG, but the regional reputation system is a one and done thing. After you build the reputation and unlock the rewards, you're not really encouraged to interact with it anymore. Again, after leveling reputation in a region match, you don't have a reason to interact with the system, reduce reasons to return to said region. If you change the reputation system to require upkeep through new quests, gives the player a set of preservation goals, base reputation system remains to earn one-time rewards, and a second decaying rapport system is implemented, which is the focus of the slide, with the player needing to complete basic quests with the citizens and characters of the region. Maintaining rapport provides periodical reward materials themed to the region, incentivizing players to interact by providing passive income of otherwise only collectible materials. It's going to utilize existing reputation system UI and in-game resources, a mail system for narrative immersion, already in-game, rapport quests, new but non-voiced, use existing character models, focusing on story and interactions, to keep it cheap to develop, increase immersion, fueling monetization, and inject intrinsic motivation through narrative interactions and lore. Rapport quests limited to 3 per week in keeping with existing reputation constraints, limits the number of rewards, encourages players to focus on regions that are actively building characters for, introduce character passives aiding reputation gain to fuel some more monetization. It's got Animal Crossing New Horizons, example of the NPCs sending you gifts, just a massive thing. This is a mock-up of the weekly rapport screen, so region-exclusive materials, demonstrates how they're received. This is my augmentation of the original reputation screen to include rapport. And these are some little diagrams. So the daily and weekly loop, the daily loop remains unchanged. Weekly are tasks that sort of add to your loop. You don't need to do them in a distinct order, but it's added to the weekly loop, include the rapport upkeep, and it really affects the character building loop and tasks mainly. So building rapport levels to the region, matching your character reduces the time spent building by contributing to the resource gates, because region-specific materials you have to manually farm for, that takes a lot of time. The more time you can spend farming and leveling your artifacts to make your characters better, the better your character's built. So by doing this small task every week, it reduces these time gates in the long run. My focus for this slide was creating an optional task with unique benefits using existing systems, which is something I quite like to do. The devs have said before they don't want to add loads of content that pressures people, so the goal was also adding content without pressure, and it keeps monetization in mind, given that it is a free-to-play game that relies on monetization. Next up we have the Pokemon Sword and Shield level and environments. The creature collection RPG adventure. The other game spaces capitalise off the closed world and fixed camera to add environmental complexity. Glimwood Tangle does not, despite its conducive theming and it being alluded to. It's hard to navigate via the map, via this little dotted line. Vision disruption is accomplished via existing light mechanics and a reformat to incorporate more verticality, use ladder mechanics and tree geometry to form bridges and tunnels, increase exploration depth, and busy the space to reflect the woodland theming. The tangle consists of a handful of sub-routes with various exits now. Use existing light mushrooms to guide player vision. Player must proceed through exits with the same hue to reach the route end. Machine through a non-matching exit places them in a random sub-route, adds exploration variety and a reason to visit, but keeps the individual route portions set for clarity. The sub-route system allows a larger route size without impacting hardware. The redesign makes use of existing light and ladder mechanics, patch use techniques to lessen development intensity, object interactions, and trainer dialogue to hint at navigation, prevent the player getting stuck and frustrated. Labyrinthian format and light leading shares association with fairies, tying in with the endemic Pokemon. The theming focus here was capitalising off the closed world, using light for emphasis. It's an insular franchise as Pokemon, so I've tried to keep my references to techniques they've used in the past. I've got some diagrams to sort of illustrate the way that the route works here, continuing through the same colour, good, wrong colour, bad, rewards, pickups, distributed throughout the routes. It's an example of how they use ladders, walls, fixed camera angle for visual obstruction, original Grimwood Tangle, very two-dimensional, an example of a past route that uses this sort of non-linear progression system, I suppose. This is a quick mock-up of one of the sub-routes, designed with a circular concentric design to really encapsulate the Winding Woods theme. The sight lines were kept in mind with the back-to-front camera, so the player is intended to progress forwards, whether they do that left, right, whatever. The routes are all really accessible via any route, but there's glowing mushrooms to add emphasis to certain route using light techniques. Sort of balanced around sight lines, so the more visible something is, the harder it's to get to, like the items, or sometimes things are really simple to access, like these, which have a very linear path, but they're more hidden away. It's hard to really encapsulate everything in limited time. Different levels are marked, so we've got verticality, we've got vision obstruction with the tunnels, it's another element of verticality, but again, all designed back to front, should be fully visible. Player stands here, get a view of that, player stands here, view of the tunnels, they can see the item, maybe a glimpse of the pink, player cannot see yellow at the minute, little dots lead them up to the top, in which case they can. You can see there's a trainer, simpler path, choose what to take. And for my final and FDP, I worked on Overwatch 2. Team-based hero shooter. Hero progression leveling is slow and uncharacter specific. The rewards consist only of in-match cosmetics. And lore releases and character instructions are abundant, but the player cannot view these in-game, so it's a double issue. I'm introducing a revamped sub-badge system to track character unique stats to show players their individual playstyle. Leveling up sub-badges certain thresholds grants progression experience and unlocks pins, which the player can use as charms or put on the icon for self-expression. Reaching set progression levels on a hero would grant the player access to previously released lore material of the characters, increasing reward diversity, providing intrinsic motivation through narrative, lore and cutscenes in this case, and encouraging wider mastery. Sub-badge targets encourage certain playstyles and perks or introduces player quests, forming new achievement goals, and providing progression experience. Hero-specific stats are tracked previously, but functionality is reintroduced. Existing 2D assets, sprays and ability icons with different colorations and packing elements form this pin, the pin system. Use existing quest tree and sub-badge stats to form and display new quests. Expand the story tab for voice and video archive. The quests are generated using both high playtime and random on-roll heroes to encourage mastery diversity. Multi-hero lore is locked behind all involved hero levels, goal complexity and mastery diversity. Pins draw off enamel pin usage and stick usage for expression. So the lore archive was inspired by the Honkai Star Rail databank. You've got the different categories, but in my case it is match interactions, comics, story videos, short stories, voice line archive. So I've reworked the existing relatively new story tab from sort of original kind of thing, where it's just individual shorts, to categories for the different lore drop types, and then this would return you to a sub-screen that has all the cinematics, all the comics, etc. This is illustrating the standard versus sub-badge quests, so the range of rewards on the y-axis and the hero comfort level on the x-axis. So you can see the standard quest, generic stat requirements, which means the player's more likely to what they're comfortable with, less rewarded for playing the mains, encourages progression, does the sub-badge quest, of hero levels, alongside rewarding battle pass speed. They can choose the engagement level, because they're based on random and most played heroes, they get to play the mains, but it also encourages more diversity than the standard quests. An example of pin placement screen, demonstration controls, making use of old UI. This motivation provided both old and new from the progression level up system, so you can see the mix of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, because I don't want to force players to interact with the system. There's a demonstration of a sticker system for profile cards, so in Pokemon Unite, so another self-expression system inspired the pins and the old sub-badges. So my theme for this one was low resource, so it's unobtrusive, adding intrinsic motivation to the extrinsic system of hero progression. Yeah, there's a second element to the pin system in that you can use it with some of the other like character icons to create fun little scenes. Again, self-expression, customization. It's very player-led is this system. I didn't want them to feel forced to interact with it. Unobtrusive. They want to feel like they should interact with it. It's like very motivation heavy. Alternatively to the pin system, if you wanted to make it even lower resource, there's a system where 3 character progression level badges are shown under the player's icon when selecting heroes in a match, and you could place 3 pins of choice there.